Okay. Let me know when everybody's in, Josh. No.
Jen, I hit admit all, so they should be joining now.
Yep, everybody is in.
Okay, great. Good evening. Um, Welcome to the December 16th meeting of the Scituate Conservation Commission. A couple of quick things to read here. Um, this meeting is being held virtually as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Scituate in accordance with the open meeting law. And the town of Scituate is a commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. The Scituate Conservation Commission is committed to providing an environment of respect during our meetings. We ask all members to interact in a polite manner, even when there's disagreement. We value the participation of our community and want all participants, including marginalized and minoritized communities, to feel welcomed and respected. We ask that our committee members and all that participate to commit to these standards and to support and respect our community. I said thank you. We have an agenda for the evening. Are there any additions, omissions, changes to the agenda? If we have a couple of minutes, we'll update you on where we are with the Driftway Park and a couple of the I guess we had open space in here anyways as an agenda. So, um,
So I'll make a motion.
yep,
I make a motion to accept the agenda as written.
Ms. Penny, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
That's Eric. All in favor? Richard?
Yes. Yes.
And did you say Jen's not here yet?
No, I don't see her yet.
She's on. I can see her.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
There she is, Jen Foley. Can we make Jen Foley a co-host?
So, Richard, did you say yes?
I did.
Um, Penny made the motion. Eric seconded it. And
Jen's
Frank,
on.
yes. So that gives we get a quorum for that one. Okay. Um, so 210, 218 First Parish Road is an ANRAD that was continued from 1021. Do we have anyone on for that this evening?
We do. We have Chris from Goddard Consulting representing the applicant.
Okay. And
And
just to remind folks on this one that this discussion is based around the wetlands portion of this project. We're not discussing there's not a project before us on this one right now. It's determining the wetlands um, location. So um, if we want to start with someone from Goddard, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Just for the record, my name is Chris Frateroli. I'm a wetland scientist with Goddard Consulting. We were preparing the ANRAD filing for this site here on behalf of the applicant, Mr. Cushing of First Parish Village, LLC. So we have not come before you yet to open this hearing, as we've mostly been working in the background and in the field with Chris Lucas from Lucas Environmental to assess the wetland delineation out there, make changes as necessary, and that's exactly what we've done. So this site plan you're seeing in front of you is a revised version of the plan that we had essentially landed on as an agreement between both us and the reviewer, Chris Lucas. So definitely some changes here, but this is essentially what we agreed on in the field based on, reviewing all those things we typically look for in a delineation, hydric soils, vegetation, hydrology, those types of things. My understanding is we're still waiting for a formal review letter from Lucas Environmental. Hopefully going to have that in the next week or so. And whatever that letter has in it beyond, the field conditions and the flags that we've changed, we'll be responding to as appropriate. But wanted to jump on and essentially give you the overview of where we're at on this project. So what we have is one main BVW line along the back of the site, which is kind of the northeast of the site, so to speak. And then we have a smattering of isolated vegetated wetlands closer to the road's frontage. I do want to note this is a heavily disturbed site. I think there's something like 40 plus test pits logged out here over the years. So some strange soil conditions to be sure, but we've worked through all the difficulty of interpreting those things, and we've landed on this as our final delineation to present to you. So that's where we stand on this project. Again, we'll be making responses to any additional comments that do come from Lucas Environmental, but that's where we're at, and I'm happy to take any questions if there are any.
Frank, I think you're muted.
I am. Do you want to comment on this, Jen?
We are waiting for a formal response from the peer reviewer, which we expect to get in the next week or so. And they did have a site visit to walk the site together and look at the flags. If we have other questions about other possible resources on the site, we can ask those questions or let me know, and we can include that in our response from the peer reviewer.
Okay. Start with Richard.
I guess the only question I would have, if Chris can explain, we only have what is the current design here. Basically, what were the changes you made from the first approach to this rendition?
Absolutely. So there were a couple of notable things that, kind of technical things that we discussed in the field specific to interpretation of certain hydric soil indicators that are actually listed as problematic hydric soil indicators that, I'm
Lost him.
Well, I'm perfectly capable of
There he
admitting
is.
that we had misinterpreted some of those things on the first go around. So you're absolutely seeing a higher wetland line now than what you had seen initially. And then we had also had a handful of isolated vegetated wetlands along that northern property line that we essentially all looped into one main BVW line. So, tricky site, a couple of tricky soils things that we hashed out in the field with Chris Lucas. But that's the main change here is that those isolated vegetated wetlands kind of all got looped into the main BVW line.
Thank you, Frank. That's all I've got for the ANRAD for now.
Okay. Penny?
No, I'm very happy to see this is very, very close to the 2010 wetlands delineation. And yeah, I just want to hear what Lucas has to say. But this is much better than what was originally submitted. Much, much better. Thank you.
Okay, thanks,
course.
Penny. Jen?
Yeah, same as Penny. Well, minus the 2010 comment. I don't remember. I don't think I was on the commission at that point, but glad to hear and looking forward to seeing the Lucas report as well.
Thanks, Jen. Eric?
Um, I don't think I have anything significant to add. Yeah, I suppose I'll just wait for the Lucas response if there's going to be anything else. The only thing that catches my eye is just the size of the IVWs on site. Um, but yeah, no questions. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have anybody from Lucas on tonight, Jen?
Don't think they were either were available to join tonight. I think that was the last correspondence I had. I'm just going to double check.
Okay.
But as of the email that I received, they were not available for tonight, and they were going to work on getting their formal response into us.
Okay.
Someone was on vacation.
I know that we've received a fair amount of correspondence um, on this site from neighbors and concerned citizens in the town. So we have quite a bit of that. I'm not sure tonight's the night
No.
for that. Do we have anybody in the audience that wants to speak to this one?
Okay, so John Chesia raised his hand.
Okay. Can you unmute John?
Yes.
And then whoever's speaking just wants to give us their name and address, please.
So John is unmuted.
Okay, John Chesia. I know many of you on the commission probably are familiar with me. My house is directly across the street. Been in my family since the early 1900s. And if you look in the back corner, another Chesia name happens to show up there because we sort of surround it a little bit. Relative to the wetland line, I trust that Lucas Environmental will do a good job on that, but my comment relates to a couple other things, which is the topography, which of course the topography is related to the wetlands. Anyone that's walked down First Parish Road in the spring, those isolated wetlands hold water.
Yep.
And the contours show it that the water just drains right out. And that's not the way it is. There's one small little depression shown at the one that's on the far west corner. But the rest of them, I mean, needless to say, I've walked up and down this street, thousands, if not tens of thousands of times over my life. And in the spring, the water is all right there. So the contours are incorrect. In addition, what's not shown, and it's, far into the wetlands, there's a ditch dug back in the WPA days along the easterly boundary. And all of the soil from the ditch is on this property. I'm not sure if the ditch is on which side right now off the top of my head because I have to go out and look again. But there's a stone wall, and the ditch is along the stone wall, and the contours don't show that either. And that's kind of may not be critical for the wetland line specifically, but the base information is absolutely critical for the future. So if you accept the wetland line, do not accept the contours, please. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Do we have anybody else?
Yes, we have Dylan Swedish. I will unmute. Dylan, you're unmuted.
Hey there, great, thanks. Yeah, so just a couple minutes.
Just a name and address, please.
Yeah, Dylan Swedish, speaking here on behalf of myself, obviously, and my wife Megan Swedish, 209 First Parish Road. So right
Thank
next to John Chesia on the opposite side of the proposed development. So similar concerns, to echo everything John said. I'd say regardless of where the exact wetland lines are and how that plays out, we're really concerned about the impact of the project. Our family has lived across the street for over 50 years, and during that time witnessed a lot of growth in what's, as we know, an already densely populated area. So numerous things: Beech Tree Farm Road, Beachcomb Lane, houses squeezed in between Elm and First Parish. It's all to say that, like, with every new house and development, the flooding has gotten a lot worse. And so now we have a major water issue in the neighborhood. Our sump pump runs most of the year, and between February and April, it's just not enough to keep up with the groundwater. This isn't a thing that's always been the case. We've had a dry dirt cellar for 70 years, and then until the probably the early 2000s when development really kicked in, mitigation began for us, and the majority of our yard is inaccessible in the spring unless you want to sink up to your shins in mud created from this river that runs down First Parish into all of the many of the folks' yards on the call. So the increased flooding and stormwater damage that this development would cause to existing dwellings needs to be really seriously considered. And I'll just quickly also say there's also an environmental impact that's a little different, but tied in. My wife grew up playing in that swamp where the 40B is supposed to go, and searching for, finding turtles, newts, salamanders in the summer, ice skating in the winter. So this stretch of First Parish Road, literally one of the last oases on this east side of 3A left, and so we really think that any building on this site is going to impact a vital and sensitive environmental area, which is why attempts in 04, 05, and 2012 failed. And these were for single family dwellings, as we know, not 24 condo units and 46 parking spaces. So wetlands, abuts a vernal pool, I'm sure all that'll shake out, but we would just like to add for the record ask whether the area has been surveyed for endangered flora, fauna, and just as importantly, if models been made to determine the potential long-term effects of the overall water on the ecosystem and abutters, down to the Scituate Brook watershed and the marshland from here into the harbor. Thanks very much for the opportunity to voice concerns. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? I think those were two really good points from John and Mr. Sweatish. And I recall
There are more hands up.
Oh, okay. Who have we got?
Let's see. We have Andy. I don't have a last name. If you could, I'm going to unmute Andy. If you can please name and address.
Hi, Andy Mills, 202 First Parish Road. My family has owned this property for over 60 years, and we've seen an increase in wetlands issues over that time frame. And I want to concur with what my neighbors have said about the wet nature of this property. I'm going to be the first downstream property that this development would impact. And any impact on my land would greatly impact the value of my property. Regarding the WPA drainage brook that John Chesia mentioned, that is on the back of my property, and that drains down through 190 rear First Parish Road to 188 First Parish Road, and then floods over the lawn at 188 down into the wetlands behind Kane Drive and across from O'Brien's car care facilities. So I just want to, voice my opinion that this is a terrible idea, and we've been opposed to this for decades.
Thank you.
And then we have one more. I'm not sure who it is. ABD 1923. I'm unmuting.
Okay. Just for you want to say your name and address?
Paul Spencer, 190 Rhea, First Parish Road. I've been an owner of that property for 60 years. You could, as John Chesia said, you could skate from First Parish Road back. The reality is that is a retention pond, not a building lot. It's a retention pond. How did I come up with that? Go up First Parish Road and look to your right, east. Every house pitches backwards. Go down Beaver Dam Road, including Washington and Jefferson Lane. Each house pitches backwards, and it goes into that pond. And it does, like Andy Mills just said, John Chesia, it enters into a brook, which overflows. goes onto my neighbor's yard. We all have 2 or 3 sump pumps going, and it would be devastating to all of us to have anything in there. Anything. That's just a retention pond, and there's just no way around it. I have a small boat in my backyard, 6 feet long, and I can float it back there during a lot of the rainstorms. And I hope that everybody takes into this consideration and realizes what an impact that will be on our neighbors, Kane Drive, and everybody involved. And I want to thank Frank and the board for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete.
All right, I have 2 more. Mark, I'm unmuting.
Hey, good evening. Thank you for allowing me to participate in this evening. I'm Mark Joyce. I'm 19 Beech Tree Farm Road. So I'm in the cul-de-sac that was built in here in 2004. And I've walked by this a million times with my dog, and I've always known it to be a very wet area. If I recall, in 2010, I think the original builder of this development here owned those lots and was looking to put in some single homes there, but I heard it was rejected for wetlands issues, etc. I don't know exactly because I wasn't paying quite that much attention to it. This has been pretty educational for me to understand this evening as I'm trying to follow this project along because I do fear it as well, to be perfectly frank. My question's pretty general as I'm kind of learning a lot about this as I'm listening again. We've had a pretty significant drought, and I'm wondering when we're trying to do these wetland measurements, how are we getting a good balanced kind of feedback of what the ecosystem is like in there, on average over, I don't know, what period of time do we need to be able to judge that effectively? Because I just feel any measurements we've been taking recently are going to be skewed because again, we've had such a major drought in this area. And I'm coming off of springs and late winters, early springs where I've never had water in my basement up until the last few years, and we've had some significant water issues. So again, being new cul-de-sac here and experiencing that and seeing the growth, I have trepidation about a lot of the different things that are going on here, but I understand that we're just trying to understand the ecosystem here and what is truly wetland. So my question is, again, a pretty simple one. How do we know we're getting a fairly accurate measurement of the wetlands here, given it's been such a drought in the area?
And go back to the engineer if he wants to address that. Or we can wait till we have Lucas on at our next. So the engineer for this site is on this evening.
Yes.
But there's an engineer or environmental firm that's reviewing this for the town. They are not here this evening, but they will be at a future meeting.
Yeah, through the chair, if I may.
Sure.
I'll just speak to that very briefly. Typically, the things we're looking at during a wetland delineation are the 2 main things are hydric soil characteristics, which take at minimum years to develop, as well as vegetation. So, some of those annual herbaceous plants may be impacted by a drought, but when you're looking at trees and shrubs and soil characteristics, these are not typically things that are dramatically affected by a drought on the order of months, so much as, the long-term hydraulic regime of the site.
Okay, thank you. And I think, again, we are going to continue this hearing because we want Lucas on, and they are the consultant for the town. They might be able to help a little bit more with some of these questions. Do we have somebody else?
I had one more person. They've lowered their hand, but otherwise, at the moment, there we go. All right, Jeremy, I'm unmuting Jeremy.
Hello, my name is Jeremy Shea. I live at 2 Kane Drive. I'm the actual last house. So I actually sit. So there's conservation land right behind me, which there's a river that flows right in the back of my house, right? So whenever there's even a slight rainstorm, my water pump goes for at least 2 to 3 days. Whenever there's a significant rainstorm or even a moderate rainstorm, there's a waterfall that runs down First Parish right onto my property, and my water pump will go for a week to a week and a half. Any type of development there would increase that water flow, and I would have to, take significant action to make sure that my basement, doesn't get flooded more than what it does already. So, you mean, I would just want the conservation, to take that into consideration, because at 2 Kane Drive, as well as the Kane, right besides the railroad tracks, is all conservation. So, and there's a river flowing right behind my house as well as right beside my house. So I would just like the committee to take that into consideration.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. A couple of good points that were raised, and I'm not sure where they work into this. When you were checking this for wetlands, has anybody confirmed the topography? And this was a plan that was submitted by the applicant. Is that being reviewed by a peer review?
We were only having the wetland line reviewed. I have not had the contours confirmed or reviewed.
We need to do
And,
that.
and the reason I'm asking that is I recall the Herringbrook hearings years ago on that, and we actually wound up having all the contours reviewed, and it revealed quite a bit of the site, different issues that came up, and they were different than what was originally
Revealed.
revealed when that happened. So I don't know, Jen. This is a little bit trickier because it is under a 40B process, but this is an ANRAD and for the commission, and I'm just wondering about topography on that. Jen, maybe you could talk to Lucas a little bit and see where that fits in, because I think some of the comments made tonight are have some real valid concerns. And also the question came up about this brook ditch, whatever. Do you know, is that delineated on this, or is it not because it's not on the property?
I don't see it on what's here, but I do remember seeing it when I was walking the site, and that would be a question to ask. It might be on the other side of the wall, but I would think it should still be shown.
I would think so. And then I'm assuming that there is we have at least some sort of check for any environmental species. So
while we're doing this to see what's there. Yes.
Just I think those are questions for Lucas.
Yep.
To ask, but the topography one, I think is a real significant issue in my mind, and I'd want to hear from Lucas on how they ultimately came up with some of these.
The ditch on an older plan was, it seemed to be on the property side of the wall.
Okay, so I'm surprised that's not on here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, again, this is ongoing. This is opportunity, folks, to weigh in, and we've got those comments, and we also have letters. I think some of you had sent letters or comments, and we have those, and we're going to be reviewing those with the peer review along with our commission. So, how long do we want to continue this to?
Well, the January 6th meeting is very full.
Okay.
So we're already advertising for January 27th. That one already has several items. So that would be the next available agenda.
And do we think we'll have information from Lucas and the time to review that and also get it to to the applicant?
By January 27th.
Well, I mean, they need it sooner than that. Did Lucas give us
Sure.
any kind of indication when we might get that feedback?
Their response to what was sent in last week, we would expect to get in the next week. As far as getting them some additional questions,
Okay.
I don't know how much more time that would take, but I would expect to hear at least their response in the next week.
Okay, so I think if we continue this to the 27th, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Continue this to the 27th, and then hopefully we'll have some additional information and we'll give them the input that we got. So I see a couple of hands still up. Is there anything that wasn't touched on that should be?
Francis Badger is a new one, so I'll unmute that one first.
Okay.
So Francis Badger, you are being asked to unmute. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Ken.
As a resident in the 1950s,
You just want to give your name and address, please?
Francis Badger, 23 Forest Lane in Scituate. I lived 188 First Parish Road in the 50s. And to the question of the issue of water runoff, there's a brook that runs between 188 First Parish and above where Pete Spencer lives. So there needs to be some delineation, I guess, of where that water is going. But that brook ran whenever there was significant rainfall right behind our house during that time period. So when we're talking about getting additional information from where that water comes from, it was actually a real brook that was delineated by rocks and such, and it ran down towards Kane Drive.
Thank you.
And then there is one more, ABD 1923. I'm unmuting.
Again, if you could state your name and address, please.
Oh, you gotta unmute yourself.
She's talking, but
Can
nothing.
you unmute yourself? We can't hear you.
Sometimes
Okay.
hitting
Can
the
you hear me?
yeah.
Right. I'm sharing, I share a driveway with 188 and Pete Spencer is my rear neighbor. I'm at 190 First Parish Road, Amanda and Dan Dufilly. We have the house the Hayes used to live in. We've been here since 2013. I wasn't going to speak because I don't know the history of the land like all these other people that do, but I can tell you that what we've experienced in terms of like that creek that runs directly through our property, it goes from, up, down into John's yard, and it dispels a lot of water, and our lawns constantly get flooded when there is drought. So my concern, I just wanted to I wasn't going to talk, but I feel like it needs to be noted since, I do share this driveway and I see it's flooded. The driveway gets flooded, the lawn gets flooded. Cutting those trees down would be devastating to the properties that are below because it's running downward. That's all I want to say. I mean, it's very apparent what has happened to our lawns without those trees being cut down. So, that's it.
Thank you.
Everybody have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I'll make a motion, Frank.
If that's it, yes.
Okay, I make a motion, we continue 210, 14, 16 First Parish, the ANRAD to January 27th.
That's
I'll
from
second
Penny.
Mhm.
Second by Richard. All in favor, Jen,
Yep.
Eric,
Yes.
And Frank, yes. So just anybody on this following this earlier, we'll be picking this back up on January 27th. Jen, how do we make sure that these folks get do we have a list of those folks now so that they can get a Zoom link? Do they need to email?
They can email conservation. We can send them the agenda. We'll post the agenda on the website, but if they want to email us, it's helpful. Email the conservation email, we can send them the agenda, which won't be ready until the week before the meeting.
So it'd be great for all of you to get on that loop so that you get that information. We'll try to make sure that you're kept updated as well. Thank you. 166 and vinyl.
I think it's 66 and
I'm 66. Sorry. Thanks. Thank you.
I am unmuting Greg Morse.
Hey, Greg.
Good evening. This is Greg. Can you hear me?
Yep. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. For the record, Gregory Morse, Registered Engineer, Morse Engineering. I'm representing the property owner and applicant, Michael Bell and Thomas Nagayan. This is a notice of intent and stormwater permit at their property at 66 Ann Vinyl Road. The existing property, it's 25,241 square feet in size. It is entirely upland. It's developed with their existing single-family home. On the opposite side of Ann Vinyl Road, there's a bordering vegetated wetland, which is the line that you see on the plan here in blue. Off of that wetland in red is the 50-foot no disturb buffer, and in green, the 100-foot wetland buffer zone. The proposal here is to construct a detached garage in the front yard with living space above it. The building is completely outside of the 50-foot buffer. It's largely located in an area where their existing driveway is. We would be realigning their existing driveway. It increases in size slightly. We're proposing it as a pervious paver driveway. There's no vegetation or tree removal associated with this project. We've proposed an erosion control barrier at the down gradient, basically the front lot line between the road and the site. All stormwater from the roof is directed into an on-site infiltration grass depression, which is in the front left corner of the lot. The commission had hired Horsley and Witten to conduct a stormwater peer review of this site. Their latest correspondence is that all of their outstanding comments had been addressed with our revised plans. This plan meets the 50-foot setback for the proposed building, and again, complies with Horsley and Witten's stormwater requirements. DEP had no comments. I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Greg. Jen?
Agreed that DEP had no comments. Horsley Witten, what they asked for was satisfied. Some of their suggestions for conditions we've incorporated in the plan, including a perpetual condition about the driveway surface. I don't have any comments from the Board of Health. So my questions so far are answered.
Okay. Penny?
Yeah, no, I really don't have any problem with this project. It's all a grassed area. It's always been. And no, I don't see any problem, but I do like the driveway. Let's never do asphalt. Thank you.
Thanks. Jen?
Yeah, I'm familiar with this. I grew up on Ann Vinyl. And same comment as Penny. I appreciate that, we're really out of the 50 on this and pushed back, looks like, as kind of as far as it could go reasonably.
Okay. Eric?
Yeah, it's one of those funny setbacks, right? Where the road is in between, the 50 foot and the actual bordering vegetated wetland. Um, but no comment really or question. I think everything looks good. Thanks.
Thank you. Richard?
I'm good.
Jen? Or comment. Did anybody in the audience for this one?
I don't see any hands raised.
I don't really have anything to Eric's point with the wetlands being on the other side of the road. It's already separated by a paved road and a sidewalk. And
Okay.
it's a pretty much developed area now anyway, so I don't see any issues there.
Okay, can we close an issue, Jen?
That's fine with us. That's fine with me.
Okay, I make a motion to close and issue orders on 61 in Vinyl Road.
66.
Oh, I'm sorry, 66 in Vinyl Road.
That's from Penny. Do I have a second?
Second from Jen.
All in favor, Richard,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Great, thank you.
Thank you.
So now we're on to 91 in Vinyl Road. This is a new one on December 16th, 6 p.m. The Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the notice of intent application of Lennox Realty Trust for installation of a septic system and drains associated with the construction of a new single-family dwelling located at 91 Ann Vinyl Road. Butters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information on how to access the virtual meeting is available on the town website.
Great. Thank you again. For the record, Gregory Morse, registered engineer, Morse Engineering, representing the applicant Lennox Realty Trust. This is a notice of intent associated with the site work at a new single-family home at 91 Ann Vinyl Road. The site that you see on the plan here is 20,089 square feet, all of which is upland land area. You'll see to the left, the southwest corner of the property, off-site in blue is a bordering vegetated wetland. Extending off of that is the line in red, which is the 50-foot no disturb zone, and in green, the 100-foot wetland buffer zone. The wetlands here were delineated by Brad Holmes and confirmed by the commission about a month and a half ago through an ANRAD process at this property. They were peer reviewed by Lucas Environmental at that time. The proposal here is to construct a new home. That's what you see shaded in gray up closer to Ann Vinyl Road. There's a driveway which would access from Ann Vinyl Road to the front of the house to a garage. Off the back of the home, there's a new septic system located in the rear yard, and there's obviously grading associated with the house and the septic system project. Inside of the 100-foot buffer zone is grading. Our limit of work is approximately 70 feet from the BVW at its closest point. A small corner of the septic system is at a 94.5-foot setback from the BVW. And then at the southwest corner of the site, we have a small grass depression which would handle runoff from the roof. Gutter system would be discharged into that. At the front of the site, we have a stabilized construction entrance to mitigate construction traffic off of Ann Vinyl Road. Surrounding the entire site, we have an erosion control barrier. DEP had no comments on this. The project respects the 50-foot wetland buffer. The site does not trigger the stormwater bylaw as we're disturbing less than 15,000 square feet of land. We have less than 25% of the site as impervious, and we're not disturbing any natural slopes of 25% or greater. Stormwater is mitigated through the roof depression in the back. Nonetheless, we've proposed that. I turn it over to you for questions or comments.
Thank you. Jen?
Yes, can we zoom in a bit more on the plan? Yes, no comments from DEP. Most of the work is out of the 100. I mean, having said that, though, the grading is for the septic that is needed for the house. There are some trees that are established that were kind of lining the previous driveway. I assume they're coming down.
Yeah.
The house would kind of be in that area. And there was concerns from an abutter a few doors going down and vinyl with concerns of the water from the front yard and the driveway going towards the road and that heading towards her home. So that was just a concern from an abutter that I shared with Morse Engineering. And I wasn't sure what more could maybe be done in that front yard area. The only other thing I wanted to mention is the house next door that's being proposed will be on our January agenda.
Okay. So I'm sorry, where to go? Jen? Well, do you have any comments, thoughts?
I'm I'm still thinking about Jen's last comment about the neighboring property also being under development, just thinking that through. Jen, when you said that, what does that mean in terms of like site stability? Is it just, there's too much construction? Are they the same owner or separate owners?
I'm sorry, building with the other site?
Yeah.
I can certainly elaborate on that.
Okay, thank you.
So the other lot here is lot 2, which is up gradient of this property. It's the lot immediately to the right of the plan here as you look at it. That's a 40,000 square foot lot. The home would be constructed out behind this one, essentially where you see the lot 2 label on this plan. That's about where the home would be. The properties are owned and they're to be constructed by the same builder.
Okay.
Lot 2 will be on your January agenda for a notice of intent. I believe that also has a stormwater permit that triggers the stormwater bylaw. Lot 2 does. Lot 1 did not.
Got it.
So is that lot 2 off of Pleasant? You said.
Lot 2 is the house. It'll be on the corner of Pleasant and Ann Vinyl. The physical driveway is off of Ann Vinyl.
Okay.
But yeah, it's the house on the corner.
Eric?
Oh, there we go.
So I think I'm just looking at it from position of just site disturbance overall and the positioning of the retention basin. I'm wondering if we have an opportunity to go from a grassed depression to a more vegetated depression that would be maybe a little bit better in terms of increasing water infiltration through vegetated means, increasing depth and density in there with the appropriate native species. Just because of one, obviously the roof stormwater will be going into that depression, but then also given the grade change on the site with the development of the house and requirements for the septic system, that if it makes sense to accommodate some of the topographic changes that are going to be occurring on this site with more native vegetation. specifically within the depression, but wouldn't be opposed to seeing more as well, especially on that, Paper West to the depression running along that property line, just to catch any of that runoff coming from the new topography being introduced. Uh, that's really my biggest thing looking at the plan. If there's anything else, I'll let you know. But that's it for right now.
Greg, do you want to comment on any of that first, or?
Sure. I think we'd be glad to add some vegetation into the grass depression out back. That could be incorporated into a condition if the commission felt that was necessary. We'd be glad to do it.
All right.
Thanks, Greg.
Richard?
I really don't have anything to add right now, Frank.
Okay. Penny?
So Eric, you were kind of talking a rain garden. Am I right to assume that?
Yeah, essentially. I mean, it already is sort of retention
Yeah,
infiltration
right.
based,
No,
but just to
no, I think
help
that's a
out
great
with that, yeah.
idea to put a rain garden in out back there, you know? And we've had some good luck with those up the West End. That's all, Frank. Otherwise, I'm okay with this.
Okay. Do we have, I got all the members, right? Do we have anybody in the audience?
No,
I
see.
don't see any members from the audience, and I guess my only other question is this done with Board of Health, or do you need to finish? Where does it stand with Board of Health?
I believe Board of Health has approved this. It's a fully compliant Title V septic system.
Okay.
Greg, a couple of questions. On the back coming out of the house is two lines. One says FD.
Yep.
And one's RD.
Yep. So RD is roof drain. That's picking up the gutters off the house and directing that into the rain garden in the back. The FD is a foundation drain. That would be a drain under the slab in the house. The house is essentially built at grade. It's only about a 1 foot dig out to the basement slab elevation.
Huh.
But we would just run a 4-inch pipe out to daylight at the back of the property, just in the event there was ever water under the house.
Okay. So with all this fill being added, I mean, I don't know if you have a calculation on the amount of fill that's needed for this site, but it's got to be pretty significant.
Yeah, I don't have a volume calc on that, no.
But with all that clearing and grading and fill, this does not trigger stormwater?
No, because it's under the 15,000 square feet of land disturbance. And then secondly, with the driveway in the house, it's less than 25% of the lot that we're creating as impervious land surface. So that doesn't trigger it on lot 1. Lot 2 will trigger it, but lot 1 does not.
And is there any proposed plantings? I mean, there's a fair number of trees being removed, a lot of fill come in. Is there any proposed plantings on this site at all?
So I'm sure there will be landscape plantings, around the house. We did not propose specific landscape plantings out in the back. No, we did not.
I guess I'm thinking more about some trees, given everything's being basically cleared.
Sure. A lot of this lot was already cleared. There was an existing house here that was demolished about a year and a half, 2 years ago at this point. You can kind of see the tree line between us and the neighboring property. You can see the individual trees that we located that were mentioned earlier along the driveway. There's 4 trees along the driveway that are coming down. So yes, there certainly are some trees coming down. I'm sure they're going to do landscaping. They're going to, put stuff back, but I don't have any mitigation proposed at this point for that.
Um, so is there are we ready to close on this? Do we have anything else to add to this? Are we sure the Board of Health is all set?
Well, if we have any vegetation we want added or mitigation or trees, it'd be great to have that added to the plan.
Yep.
And even if this one continued to that first January one, it would be, I think, just to put those details on the plan, and then we could close an issue then. But I think I heard some comments about some mitigation, but I'm not quite sure I know where it would necessarily go.
Well, I guess the thought was that on this detention pond, that would have some, other than just a grassed depression, that this would actually have some plantings in it, which would be helpful.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good suggestion, that maybe you could get some detail on that. And then I don't think it would be out of the question to get, I don't, it looks to me like there's at least 5 pretty significant trees, maybe 6, ranging from 12-inch up to 30-inch, 36. They're big, a couple of these are good sized trees that are being removed. And some trees couldn't be planted around the sides of this site.
Well, along the property line would be nice.
Well, back in to some degree, but
I mean, do you want any markers in the back part of the lot? Even, I mean, I know we're out of the 50, but around the tree line in the back of the property.
yeah, I think, I mean, I wouldn't be real concerned about that. There certainly could be a few, but I guess I'd rather see if we're gonna ask the applicant for something along with vegetating that piece, would be to plant 5 or 6 trees again to replace. They're not going to be nearly the same, but over time they'll fill out. There's a area sort of off the sun deck with a 20-foot contour bends in. There could be a tree there, one more towards the street, out near lot 1. Just seems like there ought to be some replanting. The site's going to get stripped. Almost entirely.
Yeah, I can understand that and have our botanist put together a planting plan, adding some native trees around the site. Certainly, we can do that.
Well, why don't we do that and get that on the plan, and then we can close an issue at the next meeting if everything's in order.
That would be great.
Okay.
So you're talking about the 6th of January, right, Jen?
Yes.
So I'll make a motion to continue. I keep getting
91, Penny.
91 and Vinyl Road until January 6th.
I'll second that.
Motion by Penny, second by Richard. Excuse me. All in favor, Jen?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
And Frank, yes. All right. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you. Have a good night.
314
Central Ave.
Central Ave.
A deck.
Bear with me for 1 second here. Making a big mess for Josh to sort out. On December 16th, 2024, at 6 p.m., Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the notice of intent application for Brad Stanbridge for construction of a new deck located at 314 Central Ave. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information on how to access the virtual meetings available on the website.
Darren Grady is on the Zoom. If there's anybody else, if they could raise their hand.
I see Dick Brady.
There he is. Okay.
Yeah, Rick's on the meeting to take care of this one. He's raising his hand.
Okay. All right. Got it. Sorry.
No problem.
There we go. I'm in now.
Okay.
All set?
Yep.
Thank you. Rick Grady from Grady Consulting. This is a proposed deck at number 314 Central Avenue here. The proposed deck is 10 foot wide by 40-foot long along the full length of the back of the house. It's a two-story deck. There's an upper and lower portion of it. It's going to be constructed on helical piles, and vertical posts will be set onto the helical piles. No enclosures or anything proposed below the deck, so it's not going to inhibit any flow of stormwater within the flood zone for this area here. And I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. Jen, do you want to start?
I think there weren't any comments about this one from DEP. It was 10 helical piles, I think. And I guess the other piece was just to confirm it's a uncovered deck. I mean, I know it's a two-layer one. And
yeah, uncovered, no roof.
okay. And just a reminder, our conditions would include about not enclosing underneath the deck, but otherwise I didn't have any other comments.
Right. Richard, it's your neck of the woods.
Yeah, do we have a drawing of the helical pilings and all that? Okay. I just want to make sure we did. Right, you can study them. I just want to make sure we did. No, I don't really have a problem the way this is set up. I think it'd be probably okay the way it's described.
Okay.
I went up there today to make sure I was thinking right. I think I am.
That's good to know.
Yeah, it is. At my advanced age, I have to go look.
Thinking right's critical, but
yeah.
Okay. I guess we'll circle back. Penny?
Yeah, the only thing I just questioned, there's no roof. I understand that, but it's a double decker. So the upstairs deck, the water will be able to get through the planks. I mean, I just don't want the water running off the upper deck.
Sure, yeah, it's a
In a river.
typical. Yeah, I believe they're specifying a 5 quarter by 6, I believe, there on the deck boards with spaces between the boards.
Right.
Okay. Okay,
It's
that's
just
all,
the right of
because
this.
it is almost like a roof, but if it isn't closed in, I just want, the water to go down, but not shoot down.
Yeah, the typical space on that would be about 3/16 of an inch. If the commission's more comfortable putting a condition to make sure there is spaces between the boards, that would be acceptable to the applicant. But I believe it's covered on the structural plan.
Right.
Okay, but I just want to make sure. I don't want them too tight, because I don't want, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Jen?
I think I'm all set.
Thank you. Eric?
I also am good. Thank you.
We have anybody in the audience on this one?
I do not see any hands raised.
Okay. Yeah, I think to Penny's point is some of these can build some of these decks and put like a product under the deck boards on an upper deck so that the water gets shed off of that, and then it although it doesn't look like it's a roof, it really becomes a roof for the lower structure. So just want to be sure. I'm not seeing any of that on the detail, Penny. So
yeah. No, I just wanted to make sure, since I'm not an expert like you are, Frank, I can't read all this
I
stuff.
don't know about that.
Well, but I just wanted to be sure. It's a double decker.
Yep.
Okay,
All right.
so can we close an issue, Jen?
Yes.
Okay. Can I make a motion, Frank?
Waiting for it.
Okay, I make a motion to close one. No, that's not one.
314.
314. I'm on the wrong street even. 314 Central Ave, an issue. Oh, man.
That's the motion from Penny. Do I have a second?
Second from Jen.
All in favor? Richard
Yes.
and Eric
Yes.
and Frank, yes. Okay. That one's
That was good.
Now,
140. I think.
so then 33 Ocean Drive.
Yes.
Oh, done 140.
On December 16th, 2024 at 6 p.m., the Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding a notice of intent application of Douglas and Barbara Grace for repair of an existing septic system located at 33 Ocean Drive, Scituate. Butters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to how to access the virtual meetings available on the agenda posted on the website.
Thank you. Rick Grady from Grady Consulting again on this one. This is a property at 33 Ocean Drive on the corner of Franklin Street. It's an existing home on a 50 by 100 foot lot, 5,000 square foot small lot. They currently have two cesspools to the rear of the house along the right-hand side of the plan as we're looking at it there. They want to pump and remove those cesspools, install a 1,500 gallon septic tank and a leaching chamber by gravity system on the upper portion of the lot there. It is a fairly tight lot. We've requested a setback local upgrade approval from Board of Health to reduce the setback to the property line to 5 feet. As far as the location of this, it's basically in a depression or hole. It is within flood zone elevation 17. Grades in the area of the system are approximately elevation 11. We did not show any erosion control on this because it is at the low point of the two properties side by side here. And I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Jen?
There was no DEP comments. Yes, it's in the flood zone, barrier beach, so a coastal dune. I understand it's not on for Board of Health until January 13th.
That's correct.
So that's my, I guess that's my concern would be wanting to make sure everything was good with them.
We don't have a lot of options here. I think it's about the only place we can go. We haven't received any comments on the plan, so we are anticipating favorable approval by the Board of Health.
Well, I guess the only peril that you have is if for some reason you have to make a significant change in the plan. Like you said, it doesn't seem very likely.
Yeah, I don't think we have any options for any significant changes here.
But you're asking for a waiver for the setback?
Local upgrade, reduced setback to property line from 10 feet to 5 feet.
Okay.
So it is fairly standard request on this type of lot.
It seems pretty straightforward. I don't really.
It's a great improvement if it can work because getting a real system in instead of the cesspools is a real advantage down here.
Oh, yeah.
Jen, however you want to take this, if you want to continue it till the Board of Health or you think we're okay, it's your call.
I mean,
can we close pending approval?
Well, we've done that years ago. We used to do that.
And then what do we do with issuing orders?
You'd have to wait.
Wait. Yeah.
We did put it in the conditions that we drafted that they wouldn't be able to begin until they've got all of their applicable permits. So we could close an issue, and then it would be on the applicant. It'd be their responsibility to send any minor modification or amendment if the Board of Health didn't approve it. So it'd be their risk, really, if we closed and issued. But it sounds like it's, yeah.
We understand the potential risk on that, and that would be acceptable with us. We understand it.
And they can't start work until they get the Board of Health approval.
And right, Board of Health and Conservation, we need both approvals.
Yeah, no, I understand that. If we gave you, if we closed tonight, you'd still have to wait for Board of Health.
Right. I think what'll happen too is the approvals will align in that case. By the time we receive the orders after they're issued and the appeal period lapses, it's going to align pretty closely with the Board of Health approval.
Well, we can certainly close an issue, and then if there's any significant change, then
it's their problem.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So you want a motion, my friend?
Yep.
I make a motion. I get this right this time. We close an issue on 33 Ocean Drive.
I'll second that. Excuse me, I'll second that.
Penny, seconded by Richard. All in favor, Jen?
Yep.
And Eric?
Yes.
And Frank, yes.
Right.
Okay. Zero Crescent Ave.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Night. So, but now it's 42 Crescent Ave?
Right. When they originally filed with us, it was 0 Crescent Ave. Now they have a street number at 42.
So I'm going to open this as 42 Crescent. On December 16th, 2024, 6 p.m., the Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws to amend the order of conditions issued under DEP file number 68-3096 and deliberate a stormwater application as submitted by Antonio Andrade for work related to the construction of retaining walls and foundation work at location 42 Crescent Ave, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend, and information to access the meetings available on the agenda posted on the website.
We have Jeff DeLisi.
Yes. Hi, members of the commission, Jen. Jeff DeLisi, Orenberger, DeLisi, and Harris. I'm actually sitting here in my office with Paul Marabito. So Paul is with me as well. You can hear me, right?
Yep.
Okay, great. So y'all might remember me and my involvement in this project. I'm newly on board now. I was representing the owner of the property that owned the aggregate of the 40 Crescent Avenue home next door, which is down gradient on the southerly side, as who also owned this property, which at the time was a vacant lot. Back in the spring of this year, an order of conditions issued to allow a home to be constructed on this lot. And we all know the history since then, which is that a fairly significant amount of work, which was not in the order, has occurred on the property. The owner of the property reached out to me because I have a knowledge here. And to be honest with you, I was a bit reticent to represent him. But I also represent the new owner of the property, which is down gradient directly on the south. And I kind of viewed this as an opportunity to kind of use my knowledge of the project, the fact that I've been in front of this commission many times, and hopefully I have a reputation as somebody who can interject some truth into this, And I have an opportunity to kind of help to design this and ensure that this project does not have a significant or really any impact, or at the very least is acceptable to my client adjacent to it. So here I am. So an application was made. We've already filed an amended site plan. We've filed a landscape plan and an amended landscape plan. There's still some work to do. We've we've gotten a preliminary comments today from Deb Keller, the review engineer on the project from Merrill. Deb also has a very good understanding and recollection of this project. And Grady Consulting is going to be working hard to give her the information that she needs so that she can complete her review. I just decided to appear tonight without requesting a continuance, really to kind of just give the commission an understanding of kind of where I see the project going from a design perspective and how that could positively influence, the better way of saying it is how we can make this project even better from the standpoint of stormwater management and better from the standpoint of its impact on the resource area than what was previously approved. So just quickly on the highlight of the differences, and what's going to happen is you're going to get a list from Grady Consulting, which is going to give you a list of the differences. But generally speaking, obviously you're aware of the fact that 2 retaining walls have been installed. We have confirmed that the location of the foundation of the home is in its prior approved location. We have an as-built plan on that. We've added as mitigation a significant number of trees, shrubs, grasses, roses, and perennials. And we're talking 228 additional plantings that you would see on sheet 2 of your landscape plan. Jen, I'd love it if you could bring that up. And that chiefly is along both retaining walls and towards the bottom of the property. Additionally, there's going to be a retention area which is going to capture roof runoff. That'd be sheet 2, Jen. This is, I think, sheet 3. There's going to be a retention area in the front of the property, which is going to capture roof runoff, as well as runoff from the site between the street and the home. And that's going to be kind of to the left of that circular area. And so we have recharge areas, we have significant mitigation plantings, and actually the retaining walls really they kind of help to contain the water on the site. So actually, at the very least, my other client, you're going to see that there's going to be less water running to that property than what the state was in its vacant state. And you're going to also see that there's going to be less water running to the swale along the top of the coastal bank out in the back than what was previously approved. So we think it's a significant change. We're committed to making the change. I do ask that the commission humbly consider allowing us to begin framing the project as we work through these issues. And I was hoping that the commission would see that there's a significant commitment here to getting this right. And so with all of that, I am sitting with Paul. If you have any questions for Paul, but I'll give it back to Jen or Frank or whomever to ask any questions you want. Obviously, we would be asking for continuance to address Deb's issues and to receive any additional issues and questions she has.
Thank you, Jeff.
Well,
Jen, do we have is Deb on this evening?
No, she's not. She sent an email with some of her comments. She hasn't done a full review. She is wanting to have a plan. Like right now, the landscape plan and the site plan have differences. So last week we got some things straightened up with the having some existing conditions be the same on the site plan and the landscape plan, but there's a swale on one and not on the other. There's infiltrators in the back of the house on one and the front on the other. So before she does her full review, she wants, what is the plan that she is reviewing for the, for the amendment, but with the stormwater package.
Okay. Jeff, do you have any input on the discrepancies, those kind of things?
yeah, well, I've spent some time preparing and looking at the differences. You're going to see that a lot of what she was asking to be included onto the site plan is already on the landscape plan, which was most recently submitted. And she's asking for it to what was on the landscape plan to be assimilated and included into the site plan. So we actually have a lot of the answers to the questions, but it's just kind of assimilating it into one concise sheet so she can really bear down on the differences. Um, she did definitely have some questions about the elevation of the areas of, I think, the wall and maybe the slab and the foundation that she's going to want us to address, and we're going to take a careful look at that to do that. That was probably that in kind of like the grades um, are really, she's, I think, really wants to understand some of the grade changes, why, how they fit into the flow pattern. But if you recall this property, all of the water typically ends up in one spot, or at least was flowing and sheeting into one spot because of the contour. Um, and the commission worked with us previously to put together kind of a swale in the back of the property at the edge of some mitigation plantings. Um, that was kind of the way Deb wanted us to do that, was actually, rather than make it a depressed swale, she wanted to have it be like 6 inches high to basically be an area where water would collect and infiltrate slowly and only in large events kind of flow over. The amount of water that we're going to be shedding to that area as a result of the changes that have been made and are being proposed would actually be less than what we were proposing, because we now have a retention area and we now have 228 additional plantings on this property. And so the water is all going to either end up being in the retention area on the front half of the property, and what kind of comes off the wall on the side of the two walls on the side of the house are going to end up in the same general location. And we did file stormwater calculations, but she picked this up, and I think she's hot, because these are fairly significant changes that were not approved. And, I fully expect her to take probably as thorough and comprehensively of a look of this as I would expect any review to have. So, she's saying, look, get it to me in one spot. Give me the answers to these few threshold questions so that I can continue my review. And that's what we're going to do.
Well, and you can.
All right. Jen, do you want to, Smith, do you want to comment on this further?
No, that's what we're looking for is to have everything on the plan. Anything they're proposing to do, if they're going to make any changes to the wall, if they're going to shorten it or any of that information. That way she can look at all of that in her review.
Um, Penny?
I want to wait until Deb has everything she needs before I make any comments on this. I thought in the beginning, we had a plan, we gave them orders, and wow, things really went haywire. So I would like not to see that happen again. So as far as I'm concerned, we just sit and wait until Deb has everything she needs so she can review it and report to us, and then we'll make our decisions. That's my feeling. Thank you.
Jen Foley?
Same as Penny.
Okay. Eric?
I think ahead of, I'm not going to comment too much in waiting for Deb's review. However, I will say, while I appreciate the commitment to introducing a significant amount of plantings on the site, at least 100, possibly up to 160 or so plants may not even be, at least just based on my quick math, native. So I would like an alteration on at least some of the plant profiles proposed. Just looking off the top, I mean, hydrangea, Ilex crenata, Juniperus chinensis, the assorted perennials to be selected by a DC. I mean, there's 57 there on the schedule. That could be who knows what. Rosa rugosa would be nice if it was a Rosa virginiana instead, a native to the East Coast, rather than an introduced species. So just maybe a more thorough look at the planting schedule and what's being proposed and have it be more native focused. It's always concerning when it says selected by the GC because you just never know what you're going to get. I understand that there are sourcing challenges, but those can be easily avoided with good planning. But like I said, I do appreciate the effort and the acknowledgement of the applicant to be adding more vegetation on site. I just would ask that they're a little bit more discerning with some of the species that are being introduced. I would definitely like them to be more heavily on the native side rather than introduced species. But in terms of other comments, I'll hold till we have a thorough review from Deb. Thank you.
Okay, Richard?
Same thing, really. I think we need everything in one place, and then we can almost eventually start over and see what we can do with this.
Okay. Do we have anybody in the audience?
I do have a hand raised, Christine Sheehan. I will unmute her.
Okay.
Hi, this is Christine Sheehan. I'm at 35 Crescent Ave. I know I spoke before on that. I think, to me, looking over there, the land was raised quite a bit, and then walls were built to fill those, to sort of hold that all in. And this is just planting on top of that. I do urge the commission to really look at these two properties as really linked, because it was my understanding that initially it was sold as one and they said they'd leave it as one. Now, the way that they've built this property, the next property has to be like moved to even be used, the garage in the back and all of that. So I think that just looking at this as a whole and really looking at the size of the retaining walls that were built, would be really important because I think that they have changed the topography over there from what was there before. So I appreciate everyone really taking a hard look at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we have Megan Mahoney. I'm unmuting.
Yes, thank you. This is Megan Mahoney at 45 Crescent across the street. And I just wanted to reiterate everything that Christine just said. I mean, they've put in these huge retaining walls, and now they're mitigating that with lots of planting. I mean, I think and I appreciate the commission taking time to get all of the information to just, simply reiterate that this is not following the original orders of condition and significantly changing the purview of the project, in addition to raising, potentially where the house is located and so forth. And also to Christine's point, potentially shifting the location of any additional home that might go at the existing home location as a result of those retaining walls. So greatly appreciate the attention that the commission is offering to this, and appreciate the opportunity to be heard.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else?
At the moment, I do not see any other hands raised.
Okay. One quick question. On the back of this house, it looks like now there's a permeable paver patio. Was that there before, Paul or Jeff? Or is that something that's been added?
Yes, it was, Frank. Frank, it was there, but it's I think because of the fact that it's a walkout back there, it's a little larger than it was previous on the prior plan, was what I noticed with my eye. But I'll take a look at that for you.
And the wall going around it is a bit different. It was just kind of on one side, a bit of a
Yes.
retaining
Yes.
wall, and then that's kind of wrapped around it.
Yeah, there was
Is that
that was-
because it's the slab, the basement? It's hard to know, I guess. You have to have the plan of the old site, but what were the elevation changes of these like the basement and the first floor? How much were they raised up or lowered or I guess we should have our old plan with us.
Yeah, the one thing I do recall from this is that the wall that was proposed behind the patio on the order of conditions plan, which was previously approved, was a concrete wall. So one of the key changes here is that this would be a boulder wall as opposed to a concrete wall.
Okay.
That's one thing that comes to mind. That's going to be part of Deb's review, but I think that the patio is slightly larger than what it was previously proposed to be, but it was proposed to be there. And yes, the wall, it does kind of wrap around a little. What you don't see on this plan that's on your screen is there's a whole bunch of plantings on the ocean side of the wall, so to speak, which were not previously proposed at all, like roses and things of that nature.
Okay. Well, I think you've heard from the members what they're looking for. You know, Eric's question about maybe switching up some of the plant material, wanting to see the whole plan, I guess, and wanting to hear from Deb on how some of this all fits together. And maybe what would be good with that, the next one is I'll try to make sure I have a copy of the old site just so we can see the differences. Did Deb give us any idea of how soon she could get back to us for the review?
I think she needed some of these questions answered first.
Okay. So Paul or Jeff, do you know how quickly they can? You're saying that maybe some of the answers are there, but they're on on different plans. So maybe it's better if an engineer can get with her to kind of go through some of that.
Frank, I spoke with her this morning and she was gonna put together a full list of what she's looking for. And I said, all right, well, send that to Jen, we'll take it and we'll, work on the plans and get them back to her so she can review them. If she has any questions on the revised plans, we'll work with her on that. So when we do come back to the commission, we'll all be on the same page with her.
Okay.
That's the plan, but we need some time to do this, and the holidays that are coming up aren't helping our schedule, so.
Yeah, she's already given us the list of what she wants to see before she continues her review. That's what we received this morning. So I haven't had an opportunity to really kind of bear down on this. I know the property owners are the in-laws of the project manager, and they live down in Florida. They're elderly. They want to, they're going to be coming back up, and they're anxious. That everyone understands what has occurred, but they're anxious. So I think they're going to be making sure that there's kind of a big spotlight on this to try and get Jen what try and get Deb what she needs. So I'll work with that, but I can't give you an answer except to say, yes, the holidays kind of work against us, but I think you guys don't have your usual meeting in 2 weeks, which kind of helps us because obviously, I think your next meeting's a month from now. And we certainly will have the answers prior to then. I mean, the idea is to try to get them to her so that, in a matter of days. But we want her to start that so that we can begin to look forward instead of backwards. So that's what I got.
So we conditioned a project here with a home that's about the same size that's there, but it seems like what's really changed is the elevation, and then now we have these retaining walls. So there's going to be a significant change in how water flows around this site.
We have filed a drainage analysis, am I right, Paul?
Yeah, Frank, we filed a stormwater permit. But
Yeah.
we have to go and do a soil test bit in the recharge area. That's something Deb picked up on. So that's something we have to schedule and hopefully we can get
I get that. It's good that we have that. I don't know how far Deb's dug into that one. I guess my point is part of this we've already conditioned, but not the project. There's a lot of changes in this project. And you're asking to get started on this as soon as possible, and I get that. It's just unfortunate that what they started to build wasn't what we conditioned. I'm also thinking about our timing with meetings. So this got a cease and desist in November
I think it was earlier than
or
that.
October. I can't remember when we went out there. So this has been
October.
Sitting, now this is sitting for a couple of months.
Created the problem.
I'm just wondering if Deb gets sufficient information back to the commission that she feels like this is going to be a workable project, do we want to have them wait until our next meeting?
Yeah.
Or do we want to get all that information from Deb? Jen can review it. And then if we have everything that we need, do we want to go let them start to frame, or do we want to just have them wait?
No.
Have them wait.
Okay. I thought that was the answer, but
You had to ask.
I did. Well, that we were asked, so
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for what it's worth, I know we continued one thing to the 6th, but really the next available agenda is the 27th of January.
Yep.
Anyway, and I'm hoping that gives enough time for what Deb has asked for her to review it and them to respond. So then we're a little bit closer with a plan that looks like how it'll be.
Yep.
Yep.
okay.
Okay, so you want a motion, Frank?
I mean, there's one more hand raised. If is that okay?
Yep.
All right, Susan, I'm unmuting you. I'm not sure if she's able to unmute on her end, but I'm unmuting her on this end.
Hi, sorry, Susan Chase on 44 Crescent Ave. I just have a quick question regarding the excavator, because if this project is going to continue probably till this spring, how long will that sit there? You know,
Um,
will they be able to remove it for like, it's been 6 months already. So I was wondering how long it's going to be there.
The only response I would have to that is, other than I don't know, I'd have to talk to them, is the question itself kind of underscores the importance to move forward with the site work here and the framing, because
Does the excavator,
what we
do
really
they
have on
know?
the property.
wait, one person speaking. Let me let the
I
applicant
I was just
finish.
gonna point, I was just point out, I have, I need to answer the question or ask the question, but the property itself is in a state where it's an attractive nuisance, and I just thought I'd point that out to the commission, that's all. So, don't know the answer to the question.
I think though to that question, do we feel like the site is stabilized enough? Was there anything? I remember walking out around with Jen and Deb shortly after this came to our attention. But is there sufficient erosion control in place right now with the
Well, what do you
change?
got for erosion control?
Silt socks on the sides, and there's extra silt sock that's stockpiled in the rear of the house in case they need more, but the site does have a silt sock around the construction area at the present time.
And of course,
They
the
show
elephant in the
plan.
room is the retaining walls, but they stabilize the site as well, right? Like that's part of the purpose for them, right?
Right.
So there's also some grass growing in the back of number 40, which is also helping to stabilize.
Yeah, it seemed to me like there was excavation outside of where the erosion control is. Just maybe they want to take a look at that and make sure that
Yeah,
everything
absolutely.
is protected there. And
Look at that.
it wouldn't do us any good to continue this to the 6th, right?
Nope.
There's no room on the agenda.
Okay.
Jen, did you just briefly, did you not talk with Todd, the project manager here, about some additional measures to stabilize the site? I thought that maybe that kind
Yeah,
of.
I did, and he did everything about as promptly as he could. As
Okay.
far as putting extra around this, after we did the visit, the comments that we had, he addressed those, added more on the outsides of the retaining wall, kind of that area that was disturbed, and behind 40 Crescent where now there's grass growing.
Okay.
Frank, no
Yes.
one's answered Susan's question.
Oh,
about the
equipment.
excavator.
Yeah. I think she
Um,
deserves an answer, regardless of what it is.
sure.
I say it.
Yeah, Jeff or Paul, do you have any? Is it? I'm assuming they left the machine there because they thought they were going to get started or something.
Right.
But if it doesn't need to be there,
The best I
I
can
mean, they're not
I don't have any personal knowledge of this particular issue, Richard. I can commit to you that I'll talk to the owner about this specific item. Clearly, Susan is raising a point that's important to the neighborhood,
Right.
and so I hear you, and I'll have the conversation, but I can't answer it at the moment.
there is a lot of things on that site that aren't going to get moved. Obviously, there's got a site trailer and temporary power and a bunch of things that would typically be there with a site. So they can, I guess, knowing that.
And for some reason, I think that the location of the excavator, having just thinking about it as I was driving by, I think that that's in the location that's outside of 100 feet from the resource area. Like, so if we're thinking that that could be a problem for the resource area, I don't think it is. But again, I will talk to them about it.
Or they could put Christmas lights on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not
There you go.
not a nice thing to look at if you don't have to.
Yeah. All right. Can I
Thank
make
you.
a motion?
Yes.
I make a motion, we continue 42 Crescent to January 27th.
There's a motion from Penny. Was second.
Second from Jen.
All in favor, Richard?
Yes.
And Eric?
Yes.
And Frank, yes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a happy holidays.
You too.
Thank you, Jeff.
140 River.
Tech.
On December 16th, 2024, 6 p.m., Scituate Conservation Commission will hold wetland hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws regarding the notice of intent application of James Triglia for repair of a septic system at 140 River Street, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information on how to access the virtual meeting will be available on the agenda posted on the town website.
Good evening. I'm Darren Grady from Grady Consulting here on behalf of James Triglia. The project before you tonight is a septic system repair. It's on a 5,000 square foot lot. It's within the riverfront of the South River. It's in land subject to coastal storm flowage, elevation AE 14. It's coastal dune and a barrier beach. The septic system is in the location, or the proposed septic system is in the location of the existing septic system, where the tank is proposed right now. The existing tank is like 90 degrees oriented from that. And there's two leaching trenches that are 32 feet long. There currently exists leaching trenches underneath where they are, but they don't extend all the way to the southernmost property line. The location here is the furthest away from the river that we could locate it. It's within a paved area, which will be replaced after the system is installed. We are proposing some erosion controls shown in red here. And we do have Board of Health approval. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Jen?
Agreed with the resource areas, Board of Health approval. What we don't have is a DEP number, has not been issued yet. And also agree that it's as far away from the river as it can be. But the no DEP number is
That's big.
right. That's just what's going to tie it up for tonight.
Okay. Richard?
Anything that could be replace the pavement that is currently there with something that is somewhat permeable instead of replacing the pavement. I understand that if it's there, it can be allowed, but I'd love it if it didn't replace.
Okay. Penny?
No, I don't have a problem with it, except it needs a DEP number.
Yep.
Jen?
Appreciate Richard's comments, and I would agree with that.
Okay. Eric?
I echo the former comments and have nothing to add. Thanks.
Do we have anybody in the audience?
I see no hands raised.
So looking at this plan, I see that you're proposing to saw cut and remove and replace the pavement. So we are literally going to try to just saw cut those slots and leave the middle of the driveway?
No, we would probably end up replacing it to the foundation. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Yeah.
That portion between the system and the foundation, there's a covered porch there as well with a concrete slab there. We would probably we'd have to replace that as well.
So this is showing some footings for deck or something above. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about with the covered porch. We're really tight on space here, and we did look at some alternatives as far as the trenches closer to the house, and we ended up being able to fit them between the property line and the exterior of those posts towards the property line. And we were working closely with Peter Armstrong, who will install this. And we were asking about the constructability of this, and he's confident he can construct this right where this is.
So this conventional right now is under a paved driveway or a concrete patio or walkway.
Both, that's correct. The septic tank's underneath concrete, the leaching trench is underneath a pavement. There's also a retaining wall to the north of where we're proposing that as well. The retaining wall is about 2.5 feet tall, so that's kind of really pushing us in this direction. Inside the retaining wall is where the water service is, and we're meeting the required setback there as well.
Hmm. So would there be any alternative to that paving, brick pavers or something other than asphalt?
I would have to review that with my client and get his opinion on that.
They don't have a lot of. So where that retaining wall is, is that holding up material for another patio or concrete or?
It's actually lawn and grass there.
It is.
It's just raised. I think there's a flagpole in that area,
Okay.
and that will remain grass.
Okay.
The area to the south of that is also, I believe, a garden area that's next to between the existing shed and River Street. So they get some landscape timbers that is shown over there. I just didn't label the garden, so it's not like paved all the way between the shed and the area where the septic is. The pavement's actually outlined, and you can follow it from the southern portion of the site. It starts in River Street and then it curves in 90 degrees. It's that dashed line, and then it returns back into the front of the house on the south side. So that's where the pavement actually is.
Okay. Um,
I'm
Richard?
sorry to interrupt. It's nothing to do with this project, but I'm just noticing that the property line deed says it goes to the North River. I think that might be an error. Either that or it's a very, very old property line that was before 1897, and I doubt that.
Um,
I think it's
Are you
just a
looking at?
typo. I don't think it's a big deal.
Okay, gotcha.
All right. So what are we missing here? DEP number?
Yeah.
Correct.
All right. Well, so we need to continue this
Yeah.
Yes.
to get a number. And anything else we want to ask of the applicant other than talking about the paving?
Yes, no?
I think that's all.
Okay. Do you think there's a hang up with that getting that number, or is it just the timing? Any
I
idea?
think it was just timing.
So can we continue this one to the 6th, or how soon are they trying to get this done, Rick?
I think I can relay the information regarding the pavers versus pavement to Jen and be well prepared for the 6th. The system's currently not functioning, so I would like to give them the opportunity to replace it. They didn't give me a schedule.
Can we do that, Jen?
Yes, just we do need revised plans at least a week before, and with the holidays that the number gets a little bit bigger. So just that's my only just reminder about that. Because it is a exceptionally full agenda, so we definitely need everything in advance.
So that would just be the pavers versus the pavement if my client agrees to that.
Right. If anything changes on the plan, yes. So
Okay.
yeah.
I can do that.
So get a motion.
Okay, I make a motion. We continue 140 River Street to January 6th.
I'll second that.
Motion by Penny, seconded by Richard. All in favor. Jen?
Yep.
Eric?
Yes.
And Frank, yes. Okay, great. Thank you.
Appreciate you putting us on for the 6th. Have a good night.
Too. On December 16th, 2024, at 6 p.m., Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws. We got a notice of intent application for Stephen and Elizabeth Tripp for the installation of new septic system and accessory dwelling located at 30 Marshfield Ave, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information on how to access the virtual meetings available on the agenda posted on the website.
Thank you for your attention. I appreciate it.
Is there anybody else I should unmute? Stephen Tripp, the applicant, I unmuted, but is there anybody else on
No,
here?
I'm going to be solo on this.
Okay.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Tripp.
Good evening. So where to begin? My wife Betsy and I purchased this property back in 1985. We had no business doing that. We couldn't afford peanut butter for dinner. So what we depend on for the last 40 years is short-term rental income on the primary cottage structure. We both turned 65 and 66 this past year and hope to downsize and retire in Hummerock. And we have determined the best approach is for us to pursue an accessory dwelling for which we have a design and for which we've started presented to town planning last month with a continuation to January 9th. Obviously, to extend that, we do need to upgrade the septic system, which is also part of our application. We have a design that encompasses a 2,000-gallon tank that's of a H20 style to be able to accommodate the weight of vehicles. And we do have a 920 square foot leaching field, which is currently to the southern side of the existing structure and the proposed accessory dwelling. What more to add? We are hoping to get a go forward on the septic as soon as absolutely possible, because we do have a problem with the outflow pipe, which is beginning to degrade, and we would hate to have that collapse during a summer season. So any possibility to, even if the accessory cottage isn't necessarily ready to be approved, we certainly would be like to move ahead with our septic system upgrade.
Okay. Thank you. Jen?
Yes, so we have a house that's part of the lot is in the velocity zone. The where this work is proposed, almost all of it's in the AE zone. It's barrier beach, so it's dune. It did receive technical comments from DEP. DEP has not issued a number yet. The issue being, well, it hasn't issued a number yet. Part of their comments were regarding an engineered structure in dune, not necessarily being something that can meet the performance standards. To the point about the septic would be an improvement, from the cesspool that is there currently. So that's just some of the comments to start things off.
Okay, thank you. Richard, you know I'm picking on you to go first a couple of times.
It seems like it's a Humrock night. And regarding the septic, I'm gathering there are engineering drawings that either are in or would be in for the septic, but as I said before earlier, that makes sense. That's redundant. Getting rid of a cesspool in favor of a good septic system is a good improvement. This is right in the center of Humrock. It would be something that would be beneficial, provided the engineering is satisfactory. And I would leave the rest of it for a future discussion.
Do we have a septic plan?
Yes, it was, revision was submitted to Board of Health on Wednesday. And I think I copied you, or a guy copied you on that as well, Jen, right?
So this was one that we received last week, and then today we did get one that shifted it a bit so that none of it was underneath the proposed dwelling.
Correct. You see the jog there that was on the westerly side of the leaching field? If you go back to the original plot plan image, you'll see the dotted line that runs on the southerly elevation of the property, of the accessory dwelling. That was about a foot under a porch. And to accommodate the request by Joan, we adjusted the shape of the leaching field to go around that. So effectively pretty straightforward.
Okay. But this is applied for under one filing, Jen?
Yes, this is one filing. So the house that's there is I don't think that is elevated. The proposed one
we
is
are. We're at the lowest members at lowest horizontal members at 15.8, and grade at that point is 13.1. So the existing 100-year-old house is elevated.
but not to the V zone requirements.
No, it's because it's existing, but we are going to, we are also going to elevate the cottage, the accessory cottage. We're showing right now, we're going to go to 15.8 for the lowest horizontal member on that.
Gotcha. So I guess I'm
Yeah, so
kinda-
we can't move ahead with one, we can't move ahead with the septic without moving ahead with all of it?
well, that's my
Right, correct.
question.
It would be right.
That's not good.
If you issue an order of conditions for the septic and we don't, that would then we would not be issuing orders for the rest of it. It would then you'd have to refile. But if that were the case, we would want a plan that just had the septic on it, that didn't have this other work on it. I mean, it is the proposed dwelling with the covered porches was about 1,078 square feet of a footprint. But I mean, having said all of that, the comments from DEP were significant about introducing an engineered structure in a dune.
Understood.
So he's, come on,
You may have to file separately. That would be my first comment.
yeah, that's. I think so.
So the application that's in now is for both, right?
Yeah.
Correct. The dwelling, the septic,
So it seems like Mr. Tripp, the you've heard us through the evening encouraging people to upgrade septic systems. We think that's a positive. And the
Absolutely.
commission looks at moving on those things fairly quickly. However, your application is for both, and it seems like there's going to be a lot more consideration about this additional dwelling at this spot. So, I mean, we
I
can
would
just
ask, why is there such a concern to add this accessory dwelling? We're well within the requirements as noted in the building.
you're kind of fading a little bit. Sorry.
Yeah, I guess I would be curious as to what the objection would be to the accessory dwelling.
What?
Well, I think it's more a question of figuring out what is allowed here and the intensification of that use on that site.
Okay.
because it's a
I
dune.
certainly would be willing to listen, but I just don't see with the amount of building that's going on along the seawall in Hummerock, where adding, effectively a 740 square foot living space is outrageous.
Well, I didn't say it was outrageous. What I said was it's an intensification of the use on that site.
Well, it's a cart before the horse here, because in the end, without the accessory dwelling,
Again, you come and go a little bit. Sorry.
yeah, as I said, there's a bit of a cart horse situation here. Without getting approval from my accessory dwelling, I have no need to update the septic system.
Okay. There you go.
Wasn't there a comment though that you made, Mr. Tripp, about the infrastructure surrounding the current cesspool pipe, wanting it being done before the summer? Is there some actual issues with the current system that would
Well, the
necessitate?
pipe is collapsing. I'll hire a contractor to replace that pipe. But if I don't have the accessory dwelling as part of my plan, I'm not going to spend $23,000 to add an updated septic system. I'll just fix the pipe to the existing cesspool.
Fine.
Okay.
Your call.
Oh, well, let's try to keep working through this. So do we have any other plans for this accessory dwelling? Is that sitting on a driven piles or what's?
It will be pilings. We're looking at 20 pilings to support it. It is considered a post and beam design structure.
So do we have any of those plans yet? The piling plan
We
or
don't have the piling
any?
plan, no. I believe that some basic design plans of the structure were submitted, but if they're not on file, I'll have to readdress that with this commission.
Okay. And the existing house, what does that rest on now, Mr. Tripp?
It's on cedar posts.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's not a foundation. It's not a concrete foundation or.
There's a cinder block foundation that encompasses part of the porch, but the house structure itself is resting on cedar posts.
So water's not flowing through your existing house with the
It is not flowing through. No, that's correct.
It abuts the wall, Frank.
When you say it abuts the wall.
Yeah, that house is up against the Humrock wall.
Well, with the seawall is
Right.
Roughly 40. Well, our lot line actually goes down onto the beach. So
Well, I'm looking at a plan here, and it looks like there's a porch, and then it looks like there's some steps down.
Right.
Yeah,
And
and
then
he has some grasses between his porch and where the concrete wall is to the beach, but the wall is actually the wall that's between him and the beach is buried with cobble.
Correct.
There is a wall parallel with the street.
Yeah, it curves around with steps going down to the street.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a picture.
That's the right of way for Humrock or
Correct.
the public beach, so to speak. So we share common ownership of the beach because that's the public beach, and my lot line is 18 feet beyond the wall onto the beach. But we've been we've taken great care of this property. We've been planting Rosa rugosa on the circumference of this property now for 30 years. We've got dune retention fences that we put up on our own expense to be able to improve upon that. I think we've done everything we can to be responsible property owners there. I would ask this commission to provide me a checklist of what you need for me to move ahead with my accessory cottage. That's the goal here.
Okay. Well, for one thing, I'm not. If that's going to be on piles, we would typically have a piling plan. Is there any removal of any impervious areas in constructing that?
You're referring to the accessory dwelling or the septic?
This accessory dwelling.
It's all a grassy, sandy area. There's nothing there.
So yeah, but when you're done, it's going to have a whole house there.
Correct. Right now, there's a shed and a outdoor shower and changing area.
And the parking that's on there now, is that paved or is that?
No, the shell driveway, which has been somewhat degraded over time. We would hope to if we can get the septic done, we would refresh that with crushed shell.
And I'm sorry, Jen, what was DEP's comments again?
Well, they included the information about the performance standards for dune, which is no adverse effect. There's no regulatory standard for dune vegetation alteration and replication restoration as there is for BVW. Projects accessory to an existing building do not include the construction of an additional dwelling.
Can you say that again? Maybe you could send that out to us too, because maybe you already did and I just didn't read it. But repeat that one.
Per 310 CMR 1028-4, projects accessory to an existing building do not include the construction of an additional dwelling. If I had the whole part open, it would talk about how something like a shed, something like that would be, accessory to a home.
Okay.
But this was their
And they didn't
their
issue
comment.
they did not issue a number, correct?
Correct.
I guess that would be good information to share with the commission. If you could.
Yes. Yes.
Did we have anybody in the audience for this one?
We did receive a butter comments.
Yeah, we did.
I have a Richard, if you want me to unmute him.
Sure. Did I get to everybody on the commission? I can't even remember where we jumped to here.
No, you only get to me.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Actually, but before we take Richard, I want to just go through the rest of Eric. I apologize. I don't know how we kind of drifted there.
Oh, it happens. We I think all are in agreement that a septic improvement is certainly welcomed. I think that the biggest issue still is the accessory dwelling as it relates to the dune and the dune vegetation alteration, as well as the function of the dune. Never mind the DEP technical comments that were provided relative to projects being accessories but not dwellings. I think that the applicants made it clear that if it's not one, it's neither. Meaning, if it's not the accessory dwelling, then there is no septic. Which I guess
that's his choice.
Means that there's no consideration for dividing this into two filings, which is unfortunate. But that's all I have at the moment. Thank you.
Jen Foley.
I think Jen had to leave.
Okay. Penny.
Yeah, I think this. I'm all for a new septic. The dwelling, I have great concerns with. I have comments here in front of me from a concerned neighbor, which I think is too bad you don't have them in front of you, Frank, and pictures of what the water does there in the winter.
In 2018.
Hey, it can happen tomorrow for all we know. I'm just saying I just am not comfortable at all with the dwelling there. But moving on.
All right, so we have
that's it. You.
Anybody in the audience?
Yeah, there's a Richard. Not me.
Got it.
Another Richard.
Yeah.
So you just want to state your name and address.
I'm unmuting you, Richard.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Richard Vaza. I live at 22 Marshfield Avenue, and I am here to I'm sorry, my phone was dying. I'm here to formally express my opposition to the notice of intent application that has been submitted by the Trips for a new home and a new septic system on their property located at 30 Marshfield Avenue. I understand the need for a new septic system, and I do believe there's plenty of room on the property without the accessory unit to take care of that. I am an immediate neighbor with the Trips, and we share a common property line. While we're on the call tonight, I would like to highlight several of the key points for the record. As you are aware, the proposed project sits entirely on a barrier beach and coastal dune, both of which are highly protected resource areas under local and state regulations. According to Section 15, General Performance Standards of the Town of Scituate Wetland Regulations, when land subject to coastal storm flowage, AEVE, is significant to the interests of flood control and storm damage prevention, as it is in this case, the following performance standards shall apply. Any activity shall not have an adverse effect by increasing the elevation or velocity of floodwaters or by increasing flows due to a change in drainage or flow characteristics. Example, references to change in direction of water flow. The proposed new building and parking will add new impervious roof surfaces, 20 new pilings, potentially impervious parking materials to what is there now, all displacing and redirecting water flow, which will exacerbate flooding risks in an area that is already designated as a high-risk flood zone. Our home next door has a full basement housing all of our mechanical systems. We're extremely concerned about displaced water and redirected water flows impacting our property, creating and exacerbating flooding, especially as the proposed building. The new building is mere feet from our shared boundary. According to the wetland protection regulations and the town of Scituate wetland regulations, when a proposed project involves the alteration of a coastal dune, which this does, the issuing authority, the Conservation Commission, shall presume that the area is significant to the interests of storm damage prevention and flood control. This presumption can only be overcome upon a clear showing that a coastal dune does not play a role in storm damage prevention, flood control, or protection of wildlife. And someone had brought this up earlier, including the DEP. Per the provisions of Section 310 CMR 10.284, the Wetlands Protection Regulations, when a building already exists upon a coastal dune, as in this case with the existing home, a project accessory to the existing building may be permitted. It may only be permitted if such an accessory project is characterized in the statute as a small shed or small parking area for residents. The proposed plan includes a new building on the lot with a building footprint nearly as large as the existing home. This is not a small shed and is totally inconsistent with the intent of the wetland statute. Unlike the zoning bylaw, which Mr. Tripp referenced, there is not a provision in the Wetlands Protection Act coastal dune that allows for the construction of a new and separate building on the same lot when a home already exists. Simply put, the proposed additional dwelling is not permitted under the state or town coastal dune protection bylaw. Environmental impacts. The plan indicates that existing vegetation will be removed in areas of the lot to provide for the new home, driveway, and parking area, some of which has already been done without permission. In addition, there is a significant raised vegetation dune on the property. You may have seen in some of the photos that I sent that is proposed to be excavated and altered to make room for the new parking spaces proposed at the existing main house. As currently designed, these vehicles will not have adequate room to navigate within the parking areas without encroaching upon or destroying the vegetated dune behind them. And according to the Wetlands Protection Act, vegetation cover contributes to the growth and stability of all coastal dunes. The Commission's intent, according to the Act, is to safeguard coastal dunes. According to the Wetlands Protection Act, the designation of coastal dune necessitates the maintenance of natural vegetation in an undisturbed natural condition to ensure its effective functionality. Of critical importance, this raised vegetated dune, which you've seen in the photos, they're proposing to alter, plays a significant role in protecting our home as well as our neighbors from storm damage and flooding. Any alteration will affect flood risks to our property. Unlike provisions that are provided in the regulations for alteration or replication of bordering wetland vegetation, there is no statute that exists in the Wetlands Protection Act that allows for dune vegetation, alteration, and replication restoration as is proposed on this plan. Oh my God, my phone just died.
We can still hear you.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, but if you could, this is 8:30 and we have a couple more hearings.
No, I'm all set here. I have one thing here. What I was saying, if I have the dune vegetation alteration restoration is proposed, the Wetlands Protection Act does and coastal dune regulations do not allow for proposed vegetation alteration. Simply put, the proposed dune vegetation removal and alteration is not permitted under the state or town coastal dune. According to the town bylaws and the Wetlands Protection Act, the applicant shall have the burden of proving by clear and convincing evidence that the proposed work as described and presented will protect the interests of the zoning bylaw, the wetland protection bylaw, and the surrounding neighborhood. Thus, the burden of proof as set forth in the Scituate Wetland Bylaw and Wetland Protection Act regulations has not been met, and the applicant has not provided credible evidence of any sort that the area is not significant to the protection of the interest presumed significant for coastal dunes, namely storm damage prevention and flood control, or to abutting properties, which is mine. According to the Scituate wetland regulations, the failure to meet the burden of proof shall be cause for the Conservation Commission to issue a denial on the proposal and any work or activity proposed. Given one, the implications for the environment and the potential flooding of our home, and two, the applicant's failure to meet the burden of proof, and three, the proposed work is not allowed under the provisions of the Wetlands Protection Act, I respectfully request that the board vote and deny this application for notice of conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Baza, you obviously read that off pretty well. Can you forward that to the commission?
Yes, I can.
That would be appreciated. We would like to get that if you could email it to us or
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
In other words, Richard doesn't want to lose part of his view, so now he's becoming an environmentalist. So, in the end, this has been a long-term vision and hope for my wife and I intend to continue to provide this body as much information as necessary to move forward. So I apologize if I was lacking in detail. I'm not a scientist, nor am I a professional engineer. I'm just somebody who wants to spend more of his time in Hammerock, and I'll find a way to get that done.
So I think you I don't know whether you or your engineer, Mr. Tripp, looked into the requirements for the work that you're proposing to do. I think you, by hearing that, you obviously realize you've got some hurdles to address.
Need to go back to the plant drawing board.
I'm just wondering what the next best step for us to take here. It's already 8:30, so we're not going to be able to vet this all tonight. I'm going to propose that we continue this out for a bit. We're not going to be able to deal with anything on the 6th. I don't know where we are. How full are we on the 27th, Jen or Josh? Sounds like that meeting's already filled up.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure where we are on the 27th, but definitely not the 6th. If we want to do February 10th, do you have any other meetings scheduled with other boards that we should make sure we come after, or?
We have a meeting with planning as a continuance on January 9th.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have the list in front of me for what's already on for the 27th. It's not a small list.
We could probably do the 27th, kind of as the final filing that can go on that list.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
127.
we need some engineering drawings for the
Yeah.
building if we're going to try to move.
Well,
yeah. Go ahead, Jen.
I was going to say we'll definitely need new material if we're going to discuss it on the 27th, right? But the concern being it's a dune, and the project, I mean,
I think, Mr. Tripp, hearing this, I'm hoping that you're going to take a look at what you heard, what you saw there, and look at whether or not you can see if your project does fall within those parameters.
I've got some work to do. I understand.
Okay. So is the 27th, do you think the 27th is a reasonable time, or do we want to move this out a little bit further?
It's good to have a goal. I would say put me down for the 27th.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion. We continue 30 Marshfield Ave to January 27th.
I'll second that.
Second from Richard. All in favor, Eric? Do we have Eric?
Yes.
And Frank,
Yes, sorry.
yes. Thanks, Eric. Okay,
Thank you very much.
you.
You're welcome.
Now, the next one, I have to recluse myself.
But then there's only three of us. So we can't hear it.
Is that what we're down to?
Yeah,
Without you, it is.
Yeah, Jen had to leave.
yeah. Well, we can't do it.
Can we open this? I think we can open it and then continue it till you have a quorum.
You need me to open it?
Yeah, Jen, yeah, right. Richard, do you want me to email it to you?
Yeah, yeah, I guess so. I used to know it, but I don't have it memorized.
All right.
I mean, can we open, if we don't open it,
it would automatically continue to the next available meeting.
If you don't open it?
I think you
We
have,
can't go to the next meeting. It's already overflowing.
I think you have to open it. You got Brad Holmes with a hand up too.
Yep. Okay. Brad, I'm gonna unmute you. And I'm sending this to Richard also.
And I have to get my other computer. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Brad, why don't you go ahead?
Thank you, members of the commission. If we have to continue, so be it. What, at least I can just open it and present it and get comments, and maybe if there's things that need to
We
be
don't
addressed.
have a quorum. I don't think we can do it.
Penny, I think you can, if we can open this, he can certainly give this information, but you're not going to be able to take any vote.
I can do that, and I'll keep it simple.
Yeah, let Richard get the verbiage so he can.
I disagree with you.
Let me get the other computer opened up here. Other screen, I should say.
So I'm not participating on this one.
Yep. It's loading.
Okay.
All right. So this is an RDA for Zero Wood Road. Please remember that, well, let me open this.
Zero Wood Ave.
On December, Zero Wood Ave. On December 16, 2024 at 6 p.m., the Scituate Conservation Commission will hold a wetlands hearing under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Massachusetts General Laws and Section 30700 of the Town of Scituate Code of Bylaws for a request termination of applicability filed by Patrick Kager for the consideration of a lot as upland located at Zero Wood Ave, Scituate. Abutters and other interested parties are invited to attend. Information to access meeting will be available on the agenda posted on town website.
Well, thank you.
Yep. And so now we've got to, since we don't have a quorum available to vote on it, we need to move this off to the next meeting.
Okay, hold on.
Or another meeting.
How do we vote on continuance when we don't have a quorum? I'm just curious. I don't have the.
I think it goes automatically, Eric.
Why don't we do we want to
okay.
have Brad read any of his comments and then we go to the next meeting, or
If we could, that way we could be more productive at the next meeting.
okay, so I see there's abutters on the call as well.
But we can't consider it regardless.
Right, we definitely have to continue.
Yep.
I'll just present quickly, and then we know that we're going to continue, and that gives us the opportunity to respond to any of the commission's concerns or requests, and we can have a more efficient meeting at the next hearing. We've submitted an RDA application for Zero Wooden Avenue. Here's the site plan. It's north of Hatherley Road. It's a small lot in between Wood Avenue and Eli Avenue. There's been discussion on the lot on how this would be best handled because there was some concern that there may be areas of conservation jurisdiction. So after discussion with the applicant, Pat Kager, we said, let's file an RDA application. It protects the commission, it protects the property owners, and we'll proceed with a request for determination to present the property to the commission to confirm there's no wetland resource areas on the lot. There are no activities proposed in this application. It's just to confirm with the commission that there's no jurisdictional areas pursuant to the Conservation Commission's rules and regulations under the Scituate Wetlands Bylaw and the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act. We have confirmed there's no resource areas on the site. I was able to review the property with Jen and Frank Snow. And with that, I'll bring it back to the commission and we'll continue it. And
Yeah.
I just wanted to reiterate, there's no proposed activities, just to confirm that this property does not contain wetland resource areas subject to the Conservation Commission's jurisdictions.
And thank you for that. And for anybody who wanted to comment, it's really inappropriate to do that because there aren't enough members here to have a vote or to listen to any comments you have. So we're going to continue this, I think, to the next meeting, but to the next available meeting. And then we'll have a quorum available and any discussion can be held and a decision made. So Jen, when could we move this to?
Josh, do you have the book in front of you? How many do we have on for the 27th?
It's on the desk in the office. But
Okay, hold on one second. I'll grab it. Hold on.
Sure.
And I may add that it's a good thing you start at 6 now.
Yeah.
I think we do the 27th. We'll make it work for that one.
Then we don't have enough to even vote on that, so let's just put it in for the 27th.
Okay.
Please. So this will be moved ahead for anybody who's interested in this particular situation. This will be moved ahead and will be part of the meeting on January 27th. And the agenda will be posted a few days in advance of that.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care. Have a good night.
You too.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
So where are we at? Certificates of
Administrative
compliance.
item. Yeah. Yep.
Certificate of compliance.
If we have to vote, we can't. Oh,
Well,
no, we can.
no,
You're
we
back.
can with
You're back.
with
You're back.
Frank. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
A CSC we don't vote on.
Yep. So a partial for Brook Street, Jen?
Yes, they are done. The house is for sale. They've put their plants in. They're waiting the growing seasons. And hold on, Brad was part of that one also.
Okay.
Brad, you're unmuted.
Thank you. Thank you, members of the commission. We would like to request a partial certificate of compliance for 31 Brook Street. The project actually constructed less than the order of conditions approved. We had an order of conditions approved in 2023 for home improvement project with additions, a garage, a deck, a driveway extension, in-ground pool with retaining walls and whatnot. Bill Good is on the call tonight as well. He completed the project. He didn't install the retaining walls. He didn't install the in-ground pool with patio. But the portion of the project that was in the riverfront still required mitigation. So there was a mitigation planting plan that was completed. The completion report was submitted to the commission. We know that we wouldn't be in the position to get a request for full certificate of compliance because the commission would be looking for success of the mitigation planting area for at least 2 years. But we would like to confirm with the commission that the rest of the project is in compliance and that allows Mr. Good to proceed with selling the home and the other aspects of the project will be maintained to include maintenance of the mitigation area and reporting. But this gives us some certainty that the project was completed as the commission approved. the remaining portions of the project will remain open until we can go for a full certificate of compliance after the planting area is successful. I can bring up plans and photographs, but that's the gist of it.
Makes sense to me.
I don't have a problem with it.
Penny,
What?
are you okay with that?
Yep. It's fine.
You still awake? All right.
Don't forget Eric.
Eric.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement. I think that's reasonable.
Okay. So you can issue that, Jennifer.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Brad.
Thank you.
Thanks for the explanation.
Sure.
Modification at 131 Maple Street.
Yes, so there's a new owner and they want to do a longer driveway to their home. I'm looking to open up the plan for that one and a bit more. The house would go a little bit closer to the road. One of the things we had conditioned originally, but had not put on the plan was adding some infiltrators. This is in the Water Resource Protection District. Here we go. So we asked them to put that on this plan. So they've added that to this, which should then it makes I can't see the plan. I'm sorry. I opened up the wrong one. In order to deal with the extra impervious that they're adding to the site that wasn't originally permitted, which although is out of our jurisdiction, the whole site is in the Water Resource Protection District, which there's just limits to the amount of impervious you can introduce without stormwater components. So it's, if you think this is okay as a modification, we can accept it. Or if you want them to file an amendment, we can do that. But they have added to the plan what was asked of them to add to the plan for the additional driveway and bump out in the front of the house for a garage.
Penny, your thoughts?
No, I'm fine with it.
Richard?
Yeah, with the infiltrators put in, yeah, I'm fine with it.
Eric?
There would be no benefit of going the other route in terms of the water resource area, right? I'm just asking, not saying I'm advocating for it, but just inquiring.
So usually there's two means of doing that. You can either have a minor modification that basically we can just approve, or you have to amend the orders, and then that would be like the one we had earlier, where we almost on Crescent, we almost start over.
Yeah. So like in this situation, minor mod seems perfectly reasonable. Yeah.
Do we need to vote on this?
Nope.
Okay.
Go.
Okay. Anything for enforcements you want to fill us in on, or we can?
Not today.
Good.
Thank you.
Minutes. Somebody want to vote those minutes?
Yeah, I forget. They're 11:25, I think. I make a
Yep.
motion to accept the minutes as written for November 25th.
I'll second that.
Merrick, all in favor. Richard?
Yep.
And Frank, yes. And I just give you a quick lowdown. So the Driftway Park improvements are almost done. They've done a great job. Jen's been out there a couple of times checking on it. Paul Scott's been doing that as well. It's the main loop is looking great. They've got a little bit more to finish up, but glad to get those improvements done with the weather that we've had. Got an email from the Trails group. They've been out there after a couple of storms. As usual, they've got the place all picked up and working and trees out of the way almost instantly. It's amazing. And we're fortunate for that. And the the Scouts have created their or started to create their camping area at Maple Street. So
That's exciting.
yeah, there's a few good
On
things
both
going on.
fronts.
And
Yeah.
I was actually with Sally she was at CPC before me the other night and making some great strides with the accessibility portion of Appleton Field. So,
Oh, that's good. I was wondering because she was very hot to trot. I missed. I see. I
yeah,
missed text through. Follow up thoughts on that email, Frank, in terms of Sally. You see,
I can't remember right now exactly. She was more giving them enough because still to close things out, and she just she had a nice plan and just one aerials in there. But CPC was favorable, and I think we maybe
Yeah,
can
yeah.
look
Why don't
at
we do
some
that
of that area
offline,
together.
so you can have a little bit more of a deeper
Okay,
dive.
sure, but all good.
I make a
I
motion,
take
we
a motion
adjourn.
to
I'll
anybody want to
second it and
second
wish you a
that?
Merry Christmas.
Same to all of you.
Eric
Yes.
and Frank, yes. And the same, well, everybody have happy holidays and enjoy your family and friends. And don't give this another thought for not Josh and Jen. They still got a few more days.
Well,
All right.
Jen, before you hop off, I might not be able to attend the 6th. I might have to be taking my father to the city for a surgery, so I might not be available that day. Just to give you a heads up now, if anything changes and I am available, I'll let you know. But at the moment, they scheduled it today. So
Okay. All
Hope
right. Thank you
everything
for letting
goes
me know.
well.
thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
You all have
All
a good
right.
night.
You
Good
too.
night.
Bye now.